So good afternoon. It's a bit of a challenging task, I must admit. Firstly, thank you also Webit for inviting us. But it's a bit of a challenging task because coming right after Raj is pretty challenging. He's been a master in giving lectures about these themes for many, many years and has also come regularly at our events and occasions. Let me first introduce a little bit myself, because you didn't manage to do that. LSEC is an organization I work for, which is an association of IT security companies based out of Belgium. We operate over the last 15 years with about 265 IT security vendors, integrators and consulting companies. And over the last decade or so, we started making more and more also an interest in what is the domain of industrial internet. At the time, it was not yet industrial internet. It was basically industrial machines doing things, and therefore, if you could pop up my slide, and therefore also these machines which are automating a whole process of the industry, a whole production process, which are activating different types of sensors, but at the same time also instructing pumps and instructing different machines to do something in a production environment. Maybe a short raise of hands. Who of you here is from a production company? You produce something, you manufacture something, you raise your hand. Okay, got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a couple of you. As you might have seen in some of the other talks earlier today, this morning, some of the talks were about Industry 4.0, the digital transformation. What I'm going to talk about is actually the combination of two. Digital transformation, including security. And we're going to use some of the expertise that we built up over the last couple of years in the security domain and apply this into the transforming world of the industry. So hopefully, if I get my slides. Okay. Thank you, sir. That makes sense. Yep. So, does anybody have an idea what this is? We have yeah, go ahead.
I think that this is real-time information about the kind of attacks which can...
It's close, but not really a cigar, in the sense that this is a map which is indicating the DDoS attack coming from the Mirage botnet, which happened in October last year. So it's actually indicating how much of machines that have been collected over the world, about 600,000 of them, which were not secure enough, and which are just attacking a number of very large sites, in this case, luckily for us, maybe in the US based. But it actually disrupted quite a number of services, internet services that all of us are using on a daily basis, including the likes of Facebook, Netflix, and my most favorite one, Spotify. So during that specific day in October, I was not able to use my Spotify because of this DDoS attack. So you heard before from the previous speaker what the DDoS is. I'm going to repeat this. And Raj has been telling you a little bit more about different activities around cybercrime. So let me try and dive into a little bit further what industrial Internet of Things opportunities and challenges could mean in this case. So the first thing to understand is that the industrial Internet is here to stay. It started a couple of years ago, probably about a decade ago for some companies, maybe 20 years ago for others. It is expected about 50 billion devices to be connected by 2020. Whether it's 50 billion or 20 billion, there's a lot of debate going on. It's not really that relevant. It's a pretty high number. So, billions of devices being connected to the internet, just imagine how this looks like. Today we don't even have 5 billion devices connected. So just imagine 600,000 of those devices connected, multiply it by 10 or even 100 times, and just imagine what this could cause over the whole world. Basically the internet will collapse. So by doing this, by basically trying to organize a DDoS attack from those 50 billion devices, it's going to be a pretty scary environment. as you've seen and as you've heard, security incidents are increasing, both in frequency, in sophistication, and impact. The attackers are getting more and more savvy on the way that they have to get into your machines and into getting your information. As you rightfully put, they are using artificial intelligence, similar to the way that we are using artificial intelligence to protect ourselves. And according to us, the only way to address security today and also tomorrow is through an automated end-to-end approach using highly skilled professionals. So now look into a world in the future where you have to get these highly skilled professionals, which are almost not there today, and get into the automation. So we'll drill down a little bit further in the next couple of slides. You've heard this morning a little bit about the digital transformation. It's called Industry 4.0 in Germany and throughout the rest of Europe mainly. Industrial Internet is usually the US variant. But it's actually representing everything concerning smart manufacturing, and it indicates basically the digitalization of the manufacturing world. Everything is being customized. Every production process is there to allow for mass customization. But each and every production company, and also all of the suppliers to this, will need to further drive the efficiency of those production companies. Basically because the economy is driving them to that way. We need to be able to get to a more efficient production mechanism in order to be competitive as Europe, in order to be competitive as Bulgaria, and the rest of the different countries in Europe. Because on the other side of the oceans, those continents are doing the same, both in China as well as in the US. Those transformations are already happening. In South Korea, there's a plan today of having more than 10,000 companies digitized, fully digitized by 2020. So that means that basically most of these manufacturing companies will be able to get a lot faster. In order to be able to do this, we'll need a lot of things. Those things are basically many different types of applications, putting into small devices, and then trying to learn from today what the manufacturing process is all about in order to be able to provide that additional efficiency. And if we already see today, in manufacturing is really that place where IoT devices are being installed in most places. So a lot in manufacturing, also a lot in transport and warehousing. And this is happening all over the place. It's not only happening in large companies, like you can see here on the right bottom. The more than 1,000 employee companies have been installing quite a number of those devices. But also in smaller companies, in smaller manufacturing companies. So all over the place, manufacturing companies are considering to install either sensors to collect data from the production process, or putting in place new types of machinery that allow them to automate the process from over the internet. So basically connecting those machines that are producing different things. And it's still about to increase. So this is a figure that indicates the rise of the number of IoT devices to be installed in those production companies on a yearly basis. So you see that there's about 1 billion devices going to be installed, probably 1 to 2 billion throughout 2016, throughout 2017. So the pace is increasing, and the number of manufacturing companies that are transforming to this day and age are there. So this is the fact already. But what do we know from IoT? Already from the experiences in the home, with smart homes, we know that we are connecting all different sorts of things. Usually it's Raj asking the question throughout the room, how many devices have you had connected? And how many devices in your own house do you have connected? I can tell you without doing the poll today, I have 96 different devices connected, going from, in this case, a device like Nest, as a thermostat, or as a surveillance camera, or a doorbell called Ring, which is connecting directly to my iPhone, and which is warning me whenever somebody, for instance, delivery man, hits on my door. Or in this case, the different types of TV sets. Whenever you buy a new TV set or an amplifier or even a DVD Blu-ray player, it gets connected to the internet, because of course you want to have your Netflix on your new TV set. So if we take all of these devices and we do some analysis on them, and that's basically what we do as ethical hackers in this case, we try to investigate where there's vulnerabilities. And I can tell you with a lot of certainty, and also many researchers have been giving similar types of results, about 90% of the devices out there will be vulnerable. Because those devices have been developed over the course of probably 2 to 3 years' time, and have only had recent updates on their application layers. And even that, there's different types of other elements in the environment, either the operating system using all sorts of kernels that have not been updated and therefore are still vulnerable today. This is just an example of one of those tests that have been done, in this case by Princeton University, where we just took a look into what the devices are sending out. And if you take a closer look once you have the slides, you'll see that there's actually out in the open a lot of FTP data on it. Thanks to the LEDs, it's not really that visible anymore. But just plain open FTP data. So almost the worst that you can do when you're transmitting information over the internet. It's not using a tunnel, it's not using any form of encryption, it's not using even a protocol which is being used these days as a sort of a safe mechanism like HTTPS. No, it's just using plain old FTP. And there's actually many of those devices doing this. So whenever you have this type of video surveillance camera in this case, that gets information from your own house, it captures it and it sends it across just out in the open. And then imagine any of the different hackers, either from Russia, from China, from anywhere in the world, just being capable of plugging into that information, capturing that information, and just using it against you. That's basically what happens then, is ransomware against your video surveillance for your baby's family. And just again, taking this example and just transforming it into the world of IoT and into the world of industrial environments, you'll see that it will only get worse. For any type of hacker, an IoT device, as you might have understood already from the previous discussions, any type of attack is basically a challenge for a hacker. It means that it can, whenever it knows that these types of devices, like Nest devices, are being spread all over the world, it's going to be an easy target to try to reach out to them. And once you've hacked one of them, you'll probably be able to hack many and plenty of them. I explained to you already about the Mirage botnet. It happened last year and it created that much disruption. But it can actually happen again. And knowing that, in this case, there's many different types of IoT attack vectors, but some of those attack vectors are just being monitored by some institutions, such as OWASP. OWASP is trying to understand what the different attacks are for both websites, IoT devices, cloud services, and many more. And they just report about those things, like Raj was explaining as well. There's many researchers and organizations, even security vendors, as you've understood, which are reporting about those attacks. It's just up to you to try to find them, of course, or to try to understand what's going on. And here as well, do you know that about 80% of the websites which have been found vulnerable basically have types of vulnerabilities which have been reported by OWASP already 5 or 6 years ago. So just people are not following the basic rules about sanitizing their stuff. And the same is here. If you're an IoT developer, or if you're applying IoT devices within your environment, being it a business environment or an industrial environment, just try to follow a couple of the rules and try not to sanitize your shit, I would even say. If we try to scale up those incidents that happen, and then we actually see that it's going to become a nightmare, as was mentioned earlier before, to try to manage these types of incidents. You can try to sanitize this with different tools, with different information systems, but still even then, it will be a nightmare to try to sanitize and to try to understand even what's going on. So based on this, I give just a couple of examples in terms of facts. and how we see basically this world of attacks just expanding on a daily basis. It's just overwhelming. The number of attacks, either from already known different types of vulnerabilities or malwares that are being spreading and that are still spreading around. We even find ransomware still today, which date back to 4 or 5 years ago. So we still find them back on different end user machines. So it's becoming really challenging then to find even ways and mechanisms to try to avoid those nuance of a period. So we use machine learning as well, in the industry as well as in the world of security. And just to give you the example here, artificial intelligence in cybersecurity, and this is basically the traditional world where, in this case, Arthur Stewart discovered the concept of machine learning, and we apply it still today, but also definitely in cybersecurity. Getting different interests and getting different insights from incidents that happen, and trying to, and this is just an example of one of the different companies that's trying to do this, and trying to understand what the malicious users are trying to do, what the criminals are trying to do, but also potentially an insider threat. So somebody from the inside who could also have this type of intention. And just getting all of this information, try to analyze it, and then to try to give an understanding of what potentially is happening. This intelligence is being spread and shared amongst different entities. Actually, one of those entities was shown by Rush, the Cyber Threat Alliance, an international collaboration of different large IT security vendors. But it's also happening in Europe, and we also have different platforms and organizations sharing intelligence and sharing information about cybersecurity incidents. And the same type of technology is being used in the industry. And this is an example of where a company called Trendminer is utilizing historian data, which is available within the industry, to gather the data from endpoints, to gather data from IoT devices, and understand whenever, for instance, a machine breaks down. What is the cause, what is the reason of this machine breaking down? Sometimes it's basically supply, sometimes it's an environmental issue, sometimes it's basically temperature. By the temperature rising to 24 degrees, there's an 80% likelihood of the machine just not continuing and servicing. So this is also where we're using it for the industry. Now, if we are to combine those two worlds, again, it means that we will be having a very powerful and interesting world to go to. So data science will be there, but also for non-data scientists. This is actually a challenge. And probably opportunities for all of you, developers and people looking into the new worlds of mathematics. So combine those two worlds, and there's lots of opportunities there probably for you. There's technology, and there's also the organization issue. In the world of industrial internet, we see the IT world and the operational world coming together. The IIoT, Industrial Internet of Things. It means also that this is a place where two worlds collide. There's the world of IT people that have to talk to people who have been working within the operations, instructing machines on a traditional way, and this is a challenge. We see this on a daily basis. Usually those people have never met before, and now they are supposed to work together to develop and to install the new IoT devices. Usually this takes some time, so be prepared for this challenge, and be prepared to change also organizationally. Digital factories and industrial internet require smart and secure devices. This is what you have to learn from the IoT example. Smart devices are available. We work with a company called VersaSense. They have developed specifically from the ground up an IoT device, including a sensor, which is secured from the base itself. Raj was mentioning a couple of referrals to some of the old systems in cars, CAN bus. Some new technologies are available now to protect CAN bus operations, to have a fully encrypted mechanism that protects CAN buses from future being hacked. Now it takes 3 years typically for the automotive manufacturers to put that into a car, and probably by that time all of the cars will be IoT enabled anyways. But those types of technologies exist, and again, it's up to all of us, and especially also for those of you who are those mathematicians with a gold or silver medal, is to work together with amongst you, but also with the industry, also with some of our Belgian partners, and trying to figure out different mechanisms towards the future. So I invite you all to come to Belgium and to explore together with us our cluster and our ecosystem of both industry and also security, and trying to apply those. Just a couple of more points here. So we have to go, in order to be able to provide an answer to this, towards artificial intelligence-driven use of advanced analytics. That's also what I've explained to you just before. And using basically an automated way on doing this, because you won't be having the data analysts, neither the cybersecurity experts to help you on this. They're just too scarce. There are not enough resources in those two fields to be able to do this. So we need to have a more automated response and then have the really tough challenges to drive towards the experts. The good thing is that already today we know that artificial intelligence in some of the malware capturing companies is up to about 92%. So 92% is to be fully automated already today. It means also from smart and secure devices that we have to consider an end-to-end security from both the user up to the point that it connects to the network and to the other side of the network. We have to be able to provide a chain of trust in this domain, meaning that if we buy a piece of equipment in China, we have to know for sure that this device or this piece of device has not been tampered with, that there is no eavesdropping from a US intelligence agency or German intelligence agency. And we have to be able to engage the cybersecurity professionals with the experience to continuously search for the next challenge. And then finally, the fourth important element is to consider mechanisms for isolation, which will be, in the next couple of years, one of the most important mechanisms for security. Isolating in order that if you're being hacked into your device, that it's only limited to that piece of the process and that you're not losing all the rest of the information or the rest of the information that's stored. I give you some pointers. There's the Industrial Internet Consortium Security Framework, which is detailing all of this. There's a large security reference model which I advise you, both from an enterprise perspective as well as from an industrial perspective, to look into and to learn from on how to actually better put these platforms in action. And there you see that you don't only have to consider the enterprise itself, but also your supply chain. Consider also the way that you reach out to partners, and consider where you connect into, for instance, the cloud, that also these environments continue to stay connected. And this way you'll be able to master the digital transformation and become maybe one of the different factories of the future. We have a scheme in Belgium called Factory of the Future Awards, where we basically hand over an award on an annual basis to those who master this digital transformation in a very good way. And if it comes to the worst, this is a picture coming out of the SANS analysis of the Ukraine attack. Basically the Ukraine cyber attack that happened into the energy system. And if you just look into that report and try to understand how the attackers, whether they were Russian or not, have actually tried to attack their victim, you'll learn also from that experience where different types of actions should be taken in order to prevent such things from happening. But again, if you learn from those different activities, you'll be better off and ready to participate in the next challenge. So, thank you very much for your attention.